What if the thing you have been taught to hide was simply there? Imagine a world where people walk, talk without clothes, where they eat, work, live in the open. You might feel a jolt of surprise at first. Your heart might beat a little faster. Then, perhaps, you might feel a flicker of curiosity. And then another question rises, soft but persistent. The shock is a physical thing. It is a quick, sharp intake of breath. It is a sudden heat in the chest. When visitors first arrive, this is what you see. Wooden welcome sign at community entrance. Cars slow down. Faces in the windows, disbelief. Faces in the windows, nervous laughter. Some people stare openly, their curiosity unshielded. Others quickly avert their eyes. A few raise a phone to take a picture. Then they lower it, regretful. The shock is real, a wave over every newcomer. The community is prepared. They've seen it countless times. They do not hide from the reaction. They do not resent it. They live outside a powerful, ingrained norm. Instead, quiet calm, gentle guidance, not confrontation. Simple, clear rules for visitors. Once the initial wave of surprise recedes, a different kind of awareness begins to settle in, like dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. A new landscape comes into view. It is a landscape of profound ordinariness, where the spectacle you anticipated simply fails to materialize. Life inside the community moves to a slow, familiar rhythm, unburdened by the need to perform. The sun rises, and people emerge from their homes. They stretch in the morning light, feeling the day's first warmth on their skin. They make coffee, the familiar ritual, a quiet anchor to the start of the day. The air fills with the smell of breakfast cooking, a universal language of home and comfort. There are no uniforms here, no carefully curated outfits to signal status or intent, no costumes, no dress codes to consider, freeing up a surprising amount of mental energy. There is only the simple fact of being unadorned and without pretense. The body is not a statement, not a billboard for identity or affiliation. It is simply the vessel through which life is lived, a neutral backdrop for human experience. The day unfolds in a series of small, quiet moments. A parent teaches a child how to ride a bicycle on a dusty path, their patient instructions carrying on the breeze. Two friends sit in a garden, their conversation a low murmur, their focus on each other's words, not their appearance. Someone practices a guitar on a porch, the notes drifting through the still air. Elders gather on a bench, faces turned toward the sun, sharing stories etched not in fabric, but in time. People work. The day has purpose. They tend their gardens, hands deep in the soil. They fix their homes, the satisfying sound of a hammer hitting a nail. They write at their desks, lost in thought. It is life, stripped of its protective and performative layers. It is mundane in the most beautiful way. Of course, practicality still exists. This isn't a rejection of logic, but an embrace of simplicity. People wear hats to shield their faces from the sun, gloves for gardening, and sturdy shoes for work. Clothing becomes a tool, used when needed and set aside when not. The human brain is a remarkable pattern-making machine. From birth, it forges neural pathways based on repetition and cultural cues, creating mental shortcuts to navigate the world. Through this process, it learns to equate nudity with specific, private contexts, with intimacy, with vulnerability, or even with threat. These associations become deeply ingrained. So when you first arrive in a place where this fundamental pattern is broken, the brain sounds an internal alarm. It's a feeling of dissonance, a signal of novelty and difference that screams something is out of place. But the brain is also wonderfully adaptable. This is neuroplasticity in action. When the new pattern, nudity as normal, as non-threatening, as utterly mundane, is repeated through observation, the alarm begins to quiet. The old pathway weakens. This is the beginning of a profound psychological shift. It is a quiet revolution that happens inside the mind, one observation at a time. At first, the effort is conscious. You have to deliberately redirect your gaze. You focus on people's faces, on their eyes, on the gestures of their hands. You listen intently to their words, searching for the human connection that lies beyond the physical form. You are actively trying to override a lifetime of social conditioning. But after a few days of this gentle immersion, the conscious effort simply disappears. The mental work fades into the background. You are no longer redirecting your attention because it no longer needs to be redirected. A new, more direct pathway has been formed. The body becomes just one part of a whole person. You are simply and finally seeing people. Section 4. Weaving a culture of trust. A community like this does not happen by accident. It is not a passive state of being, but an active, deliberate creation. It is a social fabric, carefully woven together from shared values, clear intentions, and the daily commitment of every resident. The reasons people choose this life are as varied and deeply personal as the individuals themselves. For some, it is a quiet political statement against a consumerist culture that constantly uses the body to sell products, creating insecurities that fuel an endless cycle of buying. Here, the body is simply a body, not a billboard. For others, it is a spiritual path, a way to feel more connected to nature, with nothing between their skin and the sun, the air, the earth. It's a return to their own essential selves, stripped of all pretense. For many, it is a search for a more honest and authentic way of relating to other people, where status symbols and fashion are absent, and you must be seen for who you are, not what you wear. It is a profound rejection of the shame that so often clings to the human body, a conscious unlearning of a lifetime of conditioning. The core thread that runs through all these reasons is trust. To live without clothes is to live in a state of profound vulnerability, both physical and emotional. This vulnerability requires an immense foundational trust in the people around you. You must trust that they will not harm you. You must trust that they will not judge you. You must trust that they will not objectify you. This shared agreement creates a sanctuary of mutual respect. This trust is the invisible architecture of the community, stronger than any wall. It is built and maintained not through grand gestures, but through countless small, everyday actions. It is in the way people make eye contact, seeing the person, not the body. It is in the way they respect each other's personal space, an unspoken language of safety. It is in the way they speak to one another with kindness and listen with genuine attention. These are the bricks and mortar of belonging. Section 5. Voices from the Quiet. I sat with a father of 2 young children who had moved to the community a few years ago. He spoke about his initial hesitation, a feeling common among newcomers.
I was so shy at first.
Section 6. The Rules of Seeing. In a world without clothes, the rules of engagement become more important, not less. But these are not rules about what to wear. They are rules about how to see. The community has developed a sophisticated, unspoken social grammar that governs interactions. The most fundamental rule is to desexualize the gaze. This is a skill that takes practice, especially for newcomers. Ask before you take a photograph. Do not stare in a way that makes someone feel like an object. Section 7. The Final Realization. After several days, the world begins to look different. The initial shock is a distant memory. This place is not about nudity. It is about perception. What then?